Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the channel for this Friday check-in with you all. Wow, I can't wait to get into this one. It feels as heavy as all of this energy is right now. Checking in no less on this Friday, the 17th, which is the new moon in Aries, while we have this incredible stellium of what they call it, planet stacking, all these planets in Aries, nothing in retrograde, like it is all systems go. Things are happening, and we're seeing a lot of things. Everything we saw around that spirit has said, that astrologers have said, that political experts have predicted, around so many revelations coming out in ways that perhaps were unexpected, in ways that are still challenging us to try and separate fact from fiction and propaganda from what's what, the facts. But a couple of things that I want to look at today that my spirit guides and ancestors have said. Let's take a look at this and get some insight. Todd Lyons resigning effective next month from as acting director of ICE, right? That's huge, you all. That's huge. That's a big red flag. DHS is going under bit by bit. This is on the heels of those hearings. He testified at the hearings, and then boom, next thing we know, he's saying, I'm out. Not really being clear on why he's out. There's excuses around, he's been hospitalized due to stress. No, really? You think? So he's been hospitalized due to stress, da da da. But also, here we are. What is it? 60 days in now. Still haven't. Congress has not worked out what they're going to do around DHS funding. Right. That struggle still continues. Second red flag that I'm seeing is Spirit pointed out that notice Stephen Miller, who many of you have been asking me to look at him, and we will more. But Stephen Miller has been noticeably, kind of sort of quiet. And now the Independent out of the UK, I'm sorry if you're hearing a siren in the background, it'll go away in a moment. Stephen Miller's come out, and now he's being pushed, it would appear, to try and step in and help out Keg's breath, as you all call him, because now he's all of a sudden on this telling people, or appearing in the press and saying, well, actually, no matter what else is going on, I'm telling you that the war with Iran could go on indefinitely. Since when did he become a spokesperson for what's happening in the Iran war, right? He's always been the DHS guy. So these charges that are being pressed in the case that is going to go forward now, first one I think we're hearing in Minneapolis. The ICE agent who had that incident in February, right? Pulled a gun on people, so many other instances of that have not been reported. But J.B. Pritzker came out in the press also and said, told you so. We are going, out of a different state, sure, but we know Chicago, all these states that these incidents have happened, reported or otherwise, and Spirit has said for the longest time that these agents were going to get prosecuted. Masks, no masks, there are so many videos out there that they're going to get prosecuted. So now we got Todd Lyons saying, you know what? I'm going to step back. Reading today with, I felt like Spirit said it was appropriate, the Wild Unknown Tarot. Okay, the Wild Unknown Tarot. Spirit, here's what I want to look at. Literally, are we witnessing what is the beginning of the downfall of the DHS? Whether that's not abolishing the agency, but some sort of really interesting reconfiguration, keeping in mind as well all of that money that out of the last year's bill, the ugly bill or whatever we're going to call it, right? That all of that money that got set aside for the deportation programs, DHS, ICE funding, now they're about to go and try and get in front of Congress to get more money for the war that we're being told is already over and going to end any day. Yeah. All right. Spirit, please show us what is the future of the DHS? Did Todd Lyons' resignation signal this is the downfall of that agency? And that's why we're seeing Stephen Miller being redirected essentially to focus more on the war efforts. What's the future of the DHS? Is the DHS in trouble due to the prosecutions that are going to start mounting up? Please show us. What's the deal with the DHS? Is this the end or the crumbling really starting to take shape? Thank you. Thank you. I settle my energy. Bottom of the deck, the Queen of Wands. I'm getting a lot of this got prompted by what happened with Kristi Noem, the demise of Kristi Noem as head of that agency. Miller wanting to distance himself from that, also being afraid of prosecution, future prosecution, ain't going to avoid it. That's coming. The Five of Pentacles, the financing. This is in regards to DHS. That's our question. There's a struggle there, and that struggle's not going away. The justification to continue to fund that agency, in particular ICE, given what's going to be now a mounting legal issue for them with more agents and more cases coming forward. The Empress. I love that we're coming out with this incredible feminine energy, but the Empress very often represents growth. The growth of revelations around additional cases that are going to be filed against the agents. Todd Lyons knows that this is coming. And it's going to go up the ladder as well as down with the agents. The Three of Wands, growth again. Notice these threes coming back to back. In tarot, threes very often indicating growth of some sort, a mounting, a push, right? So there we have the Three of Wands. And notice as well, this fire. We had the Queen of Wands start us out. We've got fire, Aries stellium, right? This is all happening in a really timely way with this fire coming out. There is a growth and will continue to be a growth of different states, not just Minnesota, Minneapolis, but as Pritzker came out, Chicago, California, all these places where we saw things play out and so much that we didn't see play out with agents. The Lovers. There's a timing element there. And this is also the choice that Congress has in regards to the funding and trying to justify additional funding for an agency that's literally crumbling. Excuse me. Spirit, did Todd Lyons resign because he sees the writing on the wall? Was he afraid of prosecution? Was Todd Lyons afraid of prosecution? The Ten of Wands, he was overburdened for sure. This does tie into, we heard that he has been hospitalized in recent months twice. I think I saw for stress, bottom line, for stress. Two cards just came. The Wheel of Fortune, karma, and the Ace of Pentacles. If you're with me on the channel, Spirit speaks to me when I get aces. They say, "Yep, you're on track." So yes, Todd Lyons got out of there because he sees the writing on the wall. He knows that in the deportation efforts, the whole thing behind how this has been carried out, the opposition to it, and the uncovering and investigations into the behavior and actions of agents is only going to increase. More stories are going to come out. More instances are going to come out. We may even see more actual videos coming out. So Wheel of Fortune, he saw the writing on the wall and he said, okay, I've got to get out of here. Now, I want to look more closely at also the Stephen Miller part of this, because this was Stephen Miller's baby. Kristi Noem was essentially, if I'm not mistaken, she said at one point she was taking directions from Stephen Miller, right? Not just but from Stephen Miller directly. This was his baby all along. This was him. Now we're hearing him more in alignment or trying to, step into the fray with Keg's breath to try and help him out, because he's on thin ice. Dan Driscoll is sitting there ready to step in any day now. Spirit has said, keep your eyes on, in terms of additional cabinet shakeups. Pentagon Pete might be right up there ready to go. For one reason or another, Stephen Miller seems to be, sent over there to try and help him. Spirit is Stephen Miller being told, essentially, distance himself because DHS is going down. Distance himself and lean over into this other area. War efforts. Stephen Miller, please show me the energy around Stephen Miller, why he's moving this way. Stephen Miller. You're going to love it. Bottom of the deck, here comes the devil. Why not? And the Ace of Swords, I will not ignore that. And the Magician, I will not ignore that either. All right? Ace of Swords, the Magician, and the devil. The devil is Miller's ties to Frump, right? Loyal to the, to the nth degree forever and ever. But the Magician coming with that Ace of Swords is, I think Frump may have told him, they may have had some conversations around, look, you are still my boy. We're thick as thieves, right? Proverbial thieves. And, but DHS is going to be an issue for you. If moving forward, moving ahead. So the Magician, it's time for you to get creative, Ace of Swords, in the messaging that you want to put out, and the platform that you're going to land on right now. You might need to tilt over into this other direction. The Moon, because so much of what was done around DHS and has been done, and ICE in particular, is coming out. It's going to be revealed. We see it happening in real time. And there's worry. There's worry. There's a psychosis there. Spirit, what is Stephen Miller's mental condition? What's his energy at this time? Genuinely, what is his energy? Is he afraid? Is he the Hermit? Spirit speaking. He's obsessive. Well, duh. Like, that's no surprise to anybody. He's obsessive, but he is extremely worried. And notice, even I like in this card, if you can see that's a turtle in its protective shell and sort of peeking out, right? He's retreating from all of this, a lot of the bluster. I mean, he's always going to have bluster, but he's retreating from what he felt was a real stance of power, hardened shell. He is who he is. He's going to always espouse, the vitriol, the hate, the destruction of whatever he's talking about. But that topic, he's been told, I think in that Magician energy, he and Frump have been told, look, going the DHS route is not gonna pay off for you right now. So let's do it in another area. And so that's the Hermit. He's determined to do it. And there's the Emperor. Thank you, Spirit. Very clear. He and to the extent that the people within Frump's cabinet, keeping in mind, Spirit is reminding me that we know Susie Wiles has had a cancer diagnosis. So who knows what she's doing or will do in the future in terms of her availability, her strength, her stamina, with Frump. So Frump's going to be leading, we know Stephen is his deputy chief of staff. So he's going to be leaning more and more into Stephen Miller's energy. And he's trying to, but see, here's the deal. He's also, Frump is trying to tell him, I'll protect you, but light bulb just went off, you all. Frump has always said, I'll protect you, pardons, etc., right? But what we see playing out in DHS situations, this goes into the states. He cannot pardon Trump can't pardon people from being prosecuted, facing prosecution in the states, but as it relates to the war effort and keeping it on a more federal level, he's saying that's where your protection lies. Spirit, am I getting that right? That's another reason why he's being pulled. The 6 of Wands, victory. Yes, that's what it is. Miller realizes that he faces more danger in terms of future prosecution because of actions taken within the states that on a federal level Trump or whoever can't pardon him from. So that scared him in terms of national security interests, quote unquote. He's thinking he might have a better blanket to cover himself there, going back to that turtle shell. Interesting situation. All right, the other thing I want to look at today, you all, is Me Too. The hashtag Me Too, and Spirit said, don't call it a comeback, right? Never went anywhere. But look, with all the stories that are broken, I think basically in the past week, but were coming for a while. We had that CNN investigation. Interesting that it came from CNN with the Ellison situation coming into the mix, and the anticipated Foxification of CNN, right? So interesting that they had this investigation that came out around the 62 million men in February alone who have been visiting or members of or whatever the situation with this website. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because you get flagged on the platform, but you all know what I'm talking about, hopefully, right? These actions that men have been taking, really, really some twisted stuff around filming their wives or whatever. All right. So we got that coming into light. We just had the situation with Eric Swalwell, Tony Gonzalez having to resign from Congress over these kinds of shenanigans related, right? And now we also heard yesterday the news, I think it was yesterday, which is really sad and horrific and tragic, around Justin Fairfax, a former lieutenant governor out of Virginia, who his wife and then him and the two kids were at home, teenagers, like, oh my gosh, because of allegations that happened around him as well. So there's just this ground, like it just bigger and bigger and bigger, with, of course, the Epstein file situation. And now we're understanding that survivors, Trump comes out and says, whatever, whoever, let him go ahead and testify in front of Congress. Here's what I'm getting, you all. These new hearings where Epstein survivors will agree to testify. I don't know the extent to which that is going to fast forward the production of files. So we don't even know if did they destroy the files? What is Todd Blanche doing? But Me Too movement, female candidates going into the midterms, female voters going into the midterms, this reclamation of women coming together, empowerment of women, refusing to have voices silenced, and really having had enough of this incredibly toxic, predatory, dangerous behavior by, I'll call it the patriarchy. I'm trying to be trying to be nice. I want to do a Kamala Harris and whip out the MF word. But, I'm trying to keep it professional. Although, that's professional in a way. I mean, it gets to the point. But here's the thing. Spirit. Will the new round of Epstein hearings around the survivors, will that catapult the Me Too movement and organize and activate women at a whole different level? Candidates who run for office, voters, organizers. I'm hearing light money because we're hearing a lot of talk about dark money and APAC. I'll talk about that in some future readings. But women have money. Look at Mackenzie Phillips, right? She's out here, donating big money, not necessarily in the political realm, but certainly in many other colleges, etc. Is the Me Too movement going to be a huge factor galvanizing women, especially as a result of these hearings, a new round of hearings. We have the Four of Cups. I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to call it a reluctance. I am going to say in the Four of Cups, it's a dissatisfied energy where I think at this point, many survivors, even those who, Epstein survivors, even those who agree to testify or who are called to testify, although I feel like a lot of this is going to be more um, semi voluntary, it's not because they believe at this point in how effective it will be in prosecuting the perpetrators, etc. Uh, the Son of Pentacles, that's like a new approach, but slow again, a new methodical approach to revealing information and whether that information, how it is validated, whether the women indeed are believed. But that goes back to the Me Too situation. Spirit, will the testimony, the new testimony in hearings, will this galvanize women in a whole different way? Two of Wands, yes. Mm-hmm. Future, Two of Wands is focused forward, developing a platform, developing campaigns, developing organizations to support women. And the Tower, destroy the patriarchy. We could basically stop right there, y'all. Destroy the patriarchy. Yes, the Tower. Because this Spirit is saying this goes in multiple levels. This will not just be political. This will be women who are, say, going back to this, what was it called? The Motherless Group or something, whatever was behind that 62 million people. And by the way, I've seen some things online that they're saying, well, it wasn't really these men. It was bots. It was foreign actors pretending to do. I'm sorry. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And that's not to say that there wasn't some shenanigans going on with upping that count, but there's also, this was a months-long investigation by CNN. So to the extent that some of that data may have been reflective of bots or foreign, interference or whatever was, okay, fine. But you better believe that was taken into consideration. That there is, without question, this mounting. They just brought to mind, the Tate brothers, right? There is this whole thing. Talking about Epstein, right? And it has gone back decades. There is this whole thing, this predatory behavior and sort of twisted behavior with women. So that Tower, burning it down. And Spirit is saying this will be politically, but this will also be socially. There are going to be organizations that form as a result of this, supporting women, not just like survivors of Epstein, but now a broader scale effort, if you will. The Moon, the Divine Feminine, a broader scale effort to heal, to help women not be afraid to come out and talk about their experiences and band together. And that is what brings it down. Spirit, is this another factor in the midterms? Five of Swords. It could be the issue is going to be having a clear campaign. I mean, a clear message. And we have the Sun. Yes, the success of this information coming out at all levels. This is no longer, so much of the focus being on the Epstein files, but with the knowledge that's been gained around what's going on in real time right now, many women who don't even know that this is happening, but now who have been alerted, that's part of that Tower energy as well. And that's also the Moon, things coming to light. Very much thanks to this stellium and the year of the fire horse, all of it. It is painful, it is horrific, and it is certainly tragic in many ways, but it is also extremely motivating. And it is fanning the proverbial flames, if you will, for the changes that we are going to see happen, very much in large part due to the banding together of women across the spectrum, across the globe. All right? Have a great weekend. Chin up, always, shoulders back. Know who you are, know what you stand for. Heart centered, breathing, calming yourself down, taking care of yourself, getting your nervous system together because they want to rattle it. But this is all coming. We have to know this. This has to come to light in order for that tower to take effect, right? All right, you all, for entertainment purposes only, I gotta say it. Sky above you, always, and the earth beneath you, solid, holding, mothering energy, right? Get outside and stand barefoot if you can, if the weather permits, all right? And I'll talk to you later. Bye.